All right, Stu, over to you.
Welcome everyone. I'm Stuart Laxo from the Michigan DOT, and I'd like to welcome you today to the Piloting eConstruction webinar. I'd like to spend a minute orienting you to your display. You should see the Q&A dialog box in the center left of your screen. Please type your questions in the question and answer dialog at any time during the presentation. We will hold all questions until the end when we will have a moderated Q&A. We will not be holding a live Q&A, so please be sure to use that dialog box to get your questions in the hopper. Today we will hear from two different DOTs about their experience piloting eConstruction projects. Our first speaker, Sarah Kleinschmidt, is from the Missouri DOT. Sarah is currently a field materials engineer in the Construction and Materials Division at the Missouri DOT. She has been with MoDOT for 16 years, and her experiences include highway design, standards, construction inspection, material approvals, and pavement design. Sarah represents the Construction and Materials Division on the Work Zone Quality Circle team, and she's also responsible for maintaining and reporting recycled materials in construction projects. She's also the Construction and Material Division's lead on eConstruction. Our second speaker, Lori Miles, is the Construction Support Manager and Local Project Manager in the Construction Division for the Pennsylvania DOT. Lori has been with PennDOT for 12 years. During this time, her experiences include construction inspector and documentation specialist and construction manager of the finals unit. Lori also managed the local sponsored construction projects, among other responsibilities. Lori was a member of the Study Execution Management Team for the Construction Documentation System. She participates as a team member for the Project Execution Team to enhance construction documentation into a web-based system. Welcome, Sarah and Lori. This is the third webinar in a series of 4 for the winter of 2015-2016. The fourth webinar on March 16th, entitled eConstruction for Contractors and Consultants, is open for registration now, so sign up today. Additionally, there will be 4 more webinars in the winter of 2016 and 2017. Those topics will be developed based on feedback through this webinar series and arising out of the peer exchanges and regional conferences that are also in the works. You can keep abreast of these developments in the webinar series and locate the recordings of the ones you missed or want to hear again via the eConstruction Today website. On behalf of the FHWA, we would like to thank you for attending today's webinar and look forward to your attendance at webinar number 4. Please take a moment to respond to the polls. The information that you give us is helpful for us to know, as it puts our other poll responses into context and helps us tailor our outreach to ensure we're meeting our intended audience. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on, so thank you. And over to you, Sarah.
All right, thank you. And thanks everybody for joining in today. I'm going to share with you how MoDOT came to pilot Bluebeam review software for creating marked up as-built plans. Most of us are familiar with the phrase faster and cheaper. Well, at MoDOT, we want to do things efficiently too. Faster and cheaper does not always mean efficient. So how did this all get started? Our CAD division started noticing that they were retraining several construction inspectors and technicians. Over and over again they were training on how to use MicroStation. Our inspectors and technicians, they use MicroStation to edit the plan sheets that will be saved for our as-built plans once construction is completed. And in defense of the inspectors and technicians, it's kind of a use it or lose it scenario. They attend MicroStation training in like late fall or winter. They complete their as-built plans during the winter period, and then barely, if at all, use MicroStation again until the following fall or winter. The CAD trainers, they don't really have time to keep retraining our inspectors and technicians, so especially when they have a steady stream of new users that they have to train. So there just has to be a better way. Our construction and material division relies on our CAD division for all kinds of technical support, not just MicroStation training. It only made sense that CAD, along with construction materials, that they would partner together and find a solution to this problem. So CAD knew that some other states were doing PDF marked up plans. So it's kind of like, why can't we? Our current workflow is to use MicroStation to edit the plan sheets and then save those plan sheets in an all-inclusive PDF file, a big file with all the plan sheets together. So we're already doing these PDF files, so why not use them in the same way that we redline our paper plan sheets out in the field? The CAD division, they then offered to research the marked up as-built plan sheets a little further. CAD's research resulted in two viable options, either Adobe Pro or Bluebeam Review. Since some of our users are already familiar with Adobe Pro, it was decided to investigate Bluebeam Review a little bit further. Bluebeam provided a web demonstration on their review software to like a multidisciplinary MoDOT group back in December 2014. The primary goal was to see what review could do, for our marked up as-built plans, but it was also important that these other MoDOT people could also see the potential for the review software. And this is what gets back to doing things efficiently. So we decided that the demonstration went really well. And that we wanted to pursue it further. But first we needed to show it to the rest of our construction materials division and to our districts. That way they could see what review could do and to kind of get their buy-in as well. So in April of 2015, I did a presentation on review at one of our statewide conferences. I talked about how much easier it would be to use review because the inspectors and technicians could use it all season long, so no more, use it or lose it type of deal. And I also talked about how it could be used out in the field because unlike MicroStation, it's loaded on the computers and they can use it a lot easier, unlike MicroStation, because MicroStation doesn't work well out in the field. I also talked about how they could save time and how review could be used for other documentation purposes and not just the as-built plans. So everybody loved this idea. They were ready to jump in with both feet. I guess I shouldn't say everyone was excited. It just happened that someone from our information systems division, our IS is what we call them, our IS division, was in the audience. So here I am, I'm excited, I've got our construction people excited, and then IS puts the brakes on. But not, not in a bad way. IS actually suggested that we pilot the review software first, just in case review wasn't all it was cracked up to be and that we were left holding the bag with over 500 licenses of a software that we don't even like. IS actually does the purchasing of all our computer software, which I didn't know at the time when I did the conference presentation, but as it turns out, that was a huge help. IS also prepared the purchase order to conduct the training. While the purchasing and the contracting type stuff was going on, I was working with Bluebeam on some of our specific needs. Since we are now using digital signatures on almost all of our construction documents, it was very important that we be able to utilize those digital signatures. Sometimes we even have multiple digital signatures within one document. So at the time, Bluebeam wasn't able to do the multiple signatures, and they also weren't able to do dynamic fillable forms. And we use a lot of fillable forms. So at the time of the training, Bluebeam was able to come through and figure out a way for us to do multiple signatures. And with their new version of Review, which is Review 2016, they were also able to fix a bug in their software, and now they can also do the fillable forms. So it was important for Bluebeam to work with us on these issues because, MoDOT's not going to be the only agency or company with those kinds of needs. Basically, the main objectives for the pilot are to use Review for the marked up as-built plans, to save time, and to streamline costs. The plan includes purchasing the Review software for approximately 65 users and then training them how to use it. The pilot itself includes training the pilot users, providing markup standards, documenting time savings and the ease of use, as well as cost savings. When it came to selecting the pilot users, we only selected inspectors or technicians that used tablets or laptops. We did that on purpose because we wanted to encourage them to use the Review software out in the field. It just so happens that 96% of all of our inspectors and technicians use tablets out in the field. We also wanted to make sure that 2 users from each construction project office, along with a few people from Central Office Construction and CAD to provide support, got the Review software. We held training in Kansas City, Jefferson City, and in St. Louis. And of course, on the very first day that we held training, we had a snow and ice storm. So we had about 19 of our users that were not able to attend the training. So we'll work on training those the rest of February and into March. Now, I mentioned earlier that IS did the purchase order for our Review training. We actually contracted with Bluebeam to do the 3 trainings in person. We could have done it over the web, or like a webinar like this, and done the training that way, but it just worked out really well to have a person there in person. It generated a lot of good questions and a lot of dialogue that we just couldn't have had over a web training. So Review has a lot of tools that go beyond what we need for our marked up as-built plans. And the trainer was able to steer the training and for those essential tools to do our as-built plans. But there are a lot of other tools that he was able to talk about. And this was really good because it got our trainees thinking about other ways that Review could work within their daily workflows. So now we're about 3.5 weeks into our pilot of Review. And so far, so good. Some questions that have come up are just regarding the certificates for our digital signatures and things like setting Review up as the default PDF viewer. Other than that, there really haven't been a lot of questions, and I think it's in part because the software is just really easy to use, really easy to pick up on. Some of the users that weren't able to attend the training are using it without the training. That's how easy it is. So some things that we still need to work on are getting the rest of the pilot users trained, providing additional markup standards, and to start documenting our time savings. It's really hard to tell the rest of our construction personnel that they can't have review until after the pilot period is over, which we should be able to finish up the pilot around August of this year. Once the pilot period is completed, we hope to have observed time savings, cost savings, other areas in construction that we can use review, and other uses for review within the entire MoDOT agency. We hope to see time savings by not having to retrain our users and by using review out in the field all season long and not just post-construction in the office. We hope to see cost savings by enabling more users to have review. Review is about 1/3 the cost of Adobe Pro, so that means I can have 3 users using review versus only 1 user using Adobe Pro. We also hope to see other uses for review. I had mentioned that during the training, the inspectors were coming up with other ideas. One of the ideas that they can't wait to try out is how to document our land disturbance and erosion control. Some future applications could be within our design division for use with our bidding and letting documents, or even maybe our engineering policy group who does our standards. They could find a use for it as well. So I'm very excited about where our future is headed with Bluebeam Review and with our PDF marked up plans. So that concludes my presentation. I will be happy to answer questions during the question and answer period after our second presentation. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So we are going to go to some polls. And I see a couple questions are starting to come in. If anybody else has any questions for Sarah, please go ahead and add them. In the moderated discussion at the end, we will be opening the questions up to Stu and Lori as well, so we can get that panel response. So you can ask a question specifically to one of our speakers, or just a more general question to the 3 subject matter experts that we have on the line today. All right, looks like you're almost done with the polls, so I'll give you a couple more seconds and then we'll go back to the presentation.